I was only 7 years old when Michael and Rachel brought me home. They looked into my eyes and whispered that I was always meant to be theirs. It was a promise that defined the next 2 decades of my life. I spent 20 years trying to earn that belonging, as if it were a debt I could never fully repay. I chased the highest grades and became the perfect helper around the house, constantly checking the temperature of their love. I wasn't just a son, I was a boy on a permanent audition. I believed that if I was good enough, the word adopted would eventually fade away into the background of our shared history. My world was built on the fragile hope that love was something earned through merit and unwavering loyalty to the people who chose me. Then came Ava. She was their miracle, the rainbow baby born after years of silence and heartbreak. I didn't resent her. I became her shadow and her shield. I was the one who held the back of her bike until she found her balance. I was the one who stood between her and the neighborhood bullies. But as she grew, the air in our home changed. I was held to a standard of absolute perfection, a rigid architecture of expectations. Meanwhile, Ava's mistakes were treated like minor weather patterns, met with soft excuses and gentle smiles. I began to realize that while we lived under the same roof, we were governed by different laws. I was the reliable anchor, while she was the precious treasure they were terrified of losing. The gap between us began to widen, filled with unspoken tensions and the growing weight of my own invisibility. The tension finally peaked when she was 17. I caught her at an illicit party, surrounded by bad choices. When I told our parents out of genuine fear for her safety, she didn't just get angry, she went for the throat. She looked at me with a coldness I didn't recognize and called me an irreplaceable outsider. She told me I wasn't her brother, just a guest who had overstayed his welcome. My parents stayed silent, their eyes fixed on her crying face rather than my bleeding heart. That was the first time I felt the foundation of my life begin to crack. I realized then that 20 years of devotion could be erased by a single sentence from their real daughter. The protection I offered her had become a cage she was determined to break, no matter the cost to me. Years later, the resentment culminated in a phone call that destroyed my world. My father's voice was a jagged blade. He didn't ask how I was. He asked if I had abused Ava. The words felt like physical blows. In an instant, the people I had called family for most of my life became strangers. Relatives who had hugged me at Thanksgiving now shunned my calls. My parents cut all contact, blinded by a primal instinct to protect their miracle child from the monster they now believed I was. I was cast out into a cold, dark void. I had to defend my very humanity against the people who had taught me what it meant to be human. Every memory of our shared life was rewritten as a prelude to a crime I never committed. I was alone, fighting a ghost created by the sister I had once died to protect. The truth didn't emerge until months of brutal interrogation and legal shadows. Ava finally broke. She confessed that she was drowning in her own unvoiced pain and a desperate need to be seen. Her college roommate had manipulated her, whispering that the only way to truly be heard in this world was to frame her life as a story of victimhood. Ava had turned her internal agony into a weapon, and I was the easiest target. When my parents realized the origin of the lie, their house of cards collapsed. My father called me, his voice breaking into 1,000 pieces. He admitted he had discarded a lifetime of knowing my character for a single, unverified claim. They had traded their son for a lie, and the realization was a poison they now had to drink. The miracle was a girl who had set her own home on fire just to see the sparks. We are attempting to rebuild now, but the silence between us is a heavy, physical thing. I look at Ava and I don't see a villain, just a broken person who chose the worst possible path to scream for help. But understanding her pain doesn't erase my own. The damage remains. I am still the son who had to prove he belonged, and now I am the man who survived his own family's betrayal. Forgiveness is not a switch I can simply flip to return to the light. It is a slow, painful process of learning how to exist alongside the scars she left behind. We are a family again by definition, but trust is a ghost that hasn't yet found its way home. I am still here, but I am not the same man who once believed love was a debt to be paid.